In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Deluge as a thin client and how to set up the server. First off, I'm just going to show you what you can accomplish once you have Deluge set up in this configuration. You can download a torrent on your local computer, and it'll actually start the download on a remote computer like a server or just another computer on your network, or even across the internet. So right here I just downloaded a torrent for Ubuntu. When I click and run that torrent, it opens this familiar torrent-like interface that you're probably familiar with, but it'll actually start a download, and it is on a remote computer. It's not on the local computer that actually download the torrent file on. In addition to the client interface, there is also a web interface. I'll demonstrate that here. You can go to the URL, log right in through any web browser, including a mobile browser like on an iPhone or an Android phone. You can add torrents and do everything here just like you could on the local client. Just a reminder, the whole point of this is the torrents are actually starting on the remote computer, not on your local computer or on your phone or other device you're using to actually start the download. So to begin setting this up, first thing you're going to do is go to the Deluge website and download the latest version of Deluge. This tutorial is for Windows, so we're going to go here and download the latest Windows version. We're going to start with the what I'll call the local computer, or your primary computer, where you're downloading and starting the downloads, not on the server, the remote machine. So once we have that downloaded, you can just run it. Pretty typical installer, just sort of next through the installer. If you do have the option, you do want to set it as your default torrent program. Once it's installed, go ahead and open it up. We're going to go to Edit and Preferences. And then into Interface and uncheck this classic mode. This will actually make it so you're not downloading the torrents to your computer. I'll make it so you can set it up to connect to a remote computer instead. Go ahead and uncheck that, and then click on OK. So now we're going to set up the server side. You are going to have to go to the Deluge website and download and install Deluge again, just like you did on your primary computer. And then there are two websites here we're going to use, the Deluge tutorial website that I have open here in the browser, and also the non-sucking service manager. So I'll provide both these links down below in the description. You do want to download the NSSM, extract it, make sure you know where it's going. It is required in order to automatically start Deluge as a service, so it's always available for you to connect to. Next thing you want to do is start an elevated command prompt by right-clicking on it and choose to run as administrator. Command prompt is CMD if you're not familiar. So next thing you want to do is find out where we actually extracted the NSSM to, and we want to copy the full path that leads to the actual exe file. In the command prompt, we're going to type in cd for change directory, and then paste in that path to change and make that our active directory. At this point, I recommend pulling up the command prompt and the Deluge tutorial website side by side, so it's easy to follow along with these commands. So next we're going to type in nssm space install space deluge. That'll create a new service. Then we're going to have to specify the parameters. So for the path, you do actually want to check the path where Deluge is installed. In the example, it says program files, but in most people's cases on a 64-bit OS, it's actually going to be program files x86, like it is here. So I'm actually going to just copy that full path where the Deluge is installed and paste it in there. And then now for the argument, this is where you're actually going to specify where your config files are saved. You can use this default one, that will work fine, but if you do have a different preference, go ahead and put it in there. Just be aware of where you're putting it. Once you have that filled in, click Install. Next, to install the web service, we're going to type in to the command prompt again, nssm install deluge web. This is going to create another service. Again, you want to double check your path. It's going to be most likely program files x86. And then paste in your argument as well. I recommend using the same config folder for both the Deluge and Deluge web services. Now in order to create the default config files, we are going to have to start the services. So again, from the same command prompt, you can type in nssm space start space deluge and hit enter, and then do the same for Deluge web service. That'll start the services for the first time, and that'll actually create basically a sort of a template config file for us to edit. Next step is to browse to that config folder. We're going to add the file in here called auth. Actually right click on it and choose to open with, and then select Notepad. Now, this is the one that determines what username you actually use to connect to the service. So you do want to put in a username, a colon, the password, colon, and then 10. The 10 is the permission level. You really don't have to worry about that. You can Google it if you want. But 10 is the highest admin level, so that'll give you full control over the torrents that you're adding. Once you have that entered in, hit File and then Save. The other file in this directory you have to edit is the core.conf file. So right click on it and choose Edit. You're looking for the Allow Remote setting. You want to set that to True. By default, it's probably set to False. This will actually allow you to connect to the service from a remote machine. Changes to the config file probably won't take place until you restart the service, so you may have to go back to that command prompt, run the same command, only stop instead of start, and then stop both services and start them again. The other thing we have to do is add a firewall rule. So start the Windows firewall. You want to choose inbound rules, and we do have to create a couple of rules here. I suppose in my example I have 3 rules here. So in order to add a new rule, on the right hand margin you would choose New Rule. You want to choose a port. For the primary interface we're doing a TCP port, and we're going to type in 8112. That is the default. Oh sorry, this is actually the web port. 8112. And then choose next, next, next through this and finish. You can give it an appropriate name, of course. This is Deluge Web. And then finish. Basically repeat that process again for the other ports you need to add, which is 58846. I added it for both TCP and UDP, however only TCP is probably required. So now back on your local computer, we want to open the Connection Manager in Deluge. Click on the Connection Manager button or Edit and then Connection Manager. Click on the Add button to add your server for the first time. You do have to put in a host name. I do recommend setting a static IP address on your host so that the address doesn't change. Enter your username and password. This should match the username and password that you set in your auth file on the server. There are a couple other additional options in here that you can set, such as connecting automatically on startup. I do recommend enabling those options if they're not already enabled. And then click the Connect button. There are a number of preferences in here you do want to configure. So you're going to want to choose Edit and then Preferences. All these paths here are actually paths on your server. So in my case, I don't have an X drive on my local machine, but I do have an X on my server. So you do want to set up all your paths in here correctly, and this is all relative to the server. The other options in here are pretty standard fare for this kind of software, such as a number of connections and queuing and that sort of thing. You can go through that on your own. All of these settings are actually different than the settings on the web interface. You do have to set them each individually. So to test that out, again, we're just going to go to the Ubuntu website and try downloading the latest version. As you see, once we start to download it, it's automatically added to the list and starts downloading just as expected. In order to test the web interface connectivity, open a browser and type in the IP address of your server, and then a colon, and then the port number, which is 8112. You should come up with this password prompt. The default password is Deluge. Go ahead and enter that in there. In order to set your own password, what you do want to do, go into the preferences and into interface, and there's the password option right there. While you're in here, I do recommend you check the paths and all the other settings and make sure that they're to your liking. Like I mentioned, the web interface does not share the same settings. You can add a torrent through the web interface by copying the path of a torrent or a magnet link and then pasting it into the URL space in the add dialog. Using this method, you can actually add it over a mobile device like an iPhone or an Android, as long as you're on the same network. In order to connect this web interface or the actual service interface across the internet, you do have to forward ports through your router. I will be covering that in a future video. And that should be it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful or helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and happy downloading.